Hello and welcome to the Nashua Community RoundTable. We're back in 2019, and this year we're going to focus on the local elections because the city of Nashua has their city elections with the mayoral election coming up this year, along with trying to talk more with small businesses and other prominent people within the city. If you've got questions and you want to get them online or get them there, you can go visit our YouTube channel and just put them in the chat. We'll be checking that throughout the show. And again, my name is David Lyle. I'm the host of the Nashua Community RoundTable. And with me tonight is going to be one of the candidates in the special election for Alderman at Large to fill the late Brian McCarthy seat is Ben Clemens. Ben, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. And give us a little bit of your background of what have you been doing in the past few years to let us know, because you were an alderman at one point.
Correct.
What are we going to be doing to get to vote for you? What do we know, and what do we need to know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I was an alderman back in 2008 to 2012. So I was elected as an alderman at large back then in the race in 07. I then was elected to a 2-year term more recently in 2015. And I served for 2 years and then decided to not run for re-election. Over the past, so I have a lot of experience working on the Board of Aldermen. From 2010 to 2012, I was the vice president of the board under Brian McCarthy. I learned a lot from him, and I really enjoyed working with him on the board. He was a mentor of mine. When he passed away, it came as a surprise, I think, to a lot of the city, and we certainly lost a really great leader in him. And his family approached me shortly after it happened and asked me if I would run for alderman at large to fill his seat. And I was honored to do that. So so even though I had decided to kind of put my hat back on, if you will, because they approached me and asked me to do this, I threw my hat back in the ring and am looking forward to serving out the remaining term of Alderman McCarthy.
All right. Now let's look at some of the issues that are important to the city, and I'd like to get your take on them. One of the, you could say, a highlight issue that you hear it in every election, whether it's a state, local, or federal, is dealing with rail.
Yep.
Now, what is your, as an alderman at large for the balance of the term, what would be your plan when it comes to rail? How would you be working with that?
Sure. Well, that's been an ongoing issue, obviously, like you said, since for as long as Nashua has not had it, which was, in the 80s, I think, is when we lost the commuter rail. And we've been trying to get it back ever since. And I think we're at a point now where we have a good chance of getting it back, because we have a legislature that was elected in 2018 that's supportive of rail. And, the good news is that the governor seems to have signaled that he may be more supportive of it than he's been in the past. So I think what we need to do as local officials and from somebody on the Board of Aldermen is kind of just continue to promote that ideal that we want to have this come through. We want the rail to at least be expanded to Nashua and hopefully up to Manchester and even up to Concord. My preferred method would be to extend the MBTA up to all the way to Concord. because I think it will provide a better direct connection. I know that there's also been a plan that the city entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Boston Surface Rail Company, who wants to open up a link from Bedford to Lowell. My bottom line is we need to get rail here no matter what. If we can get the MBTA to expand their services up here, great. If we're doing it with a private company like the Boston Surface Rail, then that's good too. My bottom line is we need to get rail here in New Hampshire, and I think we have an opportunity to do it.
Okay, and what are some of the other issues that you find that Nashua has that you believe that you can make an impact on?
Absolutely. So one of them is the Performing Arts Center downtown. I know that this was an issue when I was last on the board in 2017, and the Board of Aldermen at that point decided that they were not going to move forward with the plans for the Performing Arts Center, despite quite a bit of public support for it. So while I was on the board, that evening when it was rejected by a minority of aldermen, I might add, we decided to put it on the ballot in front of the voters. Because some of the aldermen said, well, we want to see how the community really feels about this. And so we put it towards the voters, and the voters decided that it was something they wanted to move forward with. And that project is moving along quite well right now. They just hired an architect, the Board of Aldermen just hired an architect to design some of the first drawings and everything. And I think that's important because you want to make sure that in order to get investors on board that you have a solid plan. And so I think moving forward with that, I think we're going to enter the next phase, which is going to be raising the private capital, the $4 million endowment. And I think that there's an opportunity there to even raise even more money because we have the architectural study behind it. One of the other things that in relation to that, something that's not been discussed a lot is how once we have the theater built, how is it going to be managed? And I think we have an opportunity here to leverage a couple of different facilities, but all at once. So a lot of folks mention, well, we have the Keefe Auditorium and we have Holman Stadium. And I would agree that those are two fabulous pieces of property that, can host entertaining events and things like that. And what I would like to see is once the Performing Arts Center is built and we get a management team in there to promote it and market it, that we also give them the task of promoting and marketing the Keefe Auditorium as well as Holman Stadium. I would like to get some concerts back to Holman Stadium like we had back in the 90s. And I would like to see Keefe Auditorium also be leveraged as a viable opportunity to get talent and acts in there as well. So I think when you combine those two other facilities and kind of capitalize on the fact that Nashua has a lot of nice facilities that we can attract a variety of different artists to and entertainment folks too, then I think what you can do is really make a solid return on investment for not only the Performing Arts Center downtown, but for all of our venues that we have in the city. And that's something that I would definitely want to pursue.
Okay. Now, you did mention various, it sounded like trying to bring some more tourism as well as entertainment. One of the things that entertainment has found that's been attractive has been providing a film tax credit by the states. As an alderman, would you be looking into see if that's something that the city might be able to do to maybe attract production companies to the city to do some of their productions here, maybe utilize the Keefe Theater or Holman Stadium or even the PAC. Is that something you might be consider looking into as an alderman?
I would certainly look into looking into that. I don't know how many studies have been out there. I know that on a statewide level, it's been looked at, and so I think I would probably go back to those studies and take a look and see what they say. But I think that there's certainly value in looking into that for sure.
Okay. One of the things that's been, you could say, near and dear to my heart for the past couple of years now has been expanding the infrastructure for electric vehicles in the city. As you may or may not know, there's only a couple of stations in the city, and
I do know. Yep.
But there's been an expanding number of vehicles that can plug in going into use. I know that frequently I find there's more competition for the station down at the Pheasant Lane Mall and at Elm Street Garage. What do you think would be the best locations to maybe add new stations throughout the city so that it's not all concentrated in one location, but is more equitably surrounding downtown?
Yeah, well, let me just say I owned an all-electric vehicle for quite a while. It was a Ford Focus Electric. And when I first got it, it was 2014, and the charging station in the garage had just gone in very recently after I had purchased it. And used to be able to go there, plug in no problem, no competition, like you said. The mall, same thing. Now I see, these spots are always used. Electric vehicles are becoming a thing. And I think that they're a good, getting parking for them where they can charge, I think, is an important thing that we can do. As far as where I'd like to see that, I would like to see it all over the city, really. I mean, if we could get a couple of those spots at Holman Stadium, if we can get them a few more in the downtown garages, and in various locations throughout the city, I think that is a good thing. One of the things that people with electric cars like to do is to travel and to go to different places, particularly those places that are friendly to their vehicles. And if you have like a Focus Electric or you have something like that, you're limited on range. So you want to make sure that you go to a place where you're guaranteed a spot to plug in, because if you don't do that, you might not be able to get home. So it's something
it enters into your decision-making material of where to go.
Absolutely, and so if we can promote that, I think we can get more folks who want to come to Nashua, and we'll drive to Nashua and visit our businesses downtown and stuff like that.
I know that when the Crown Hill Park and Ride was going in, and it's proposed as a rail spot, one of the things I was actually talking to the city was when that starts getting put up, put in some electric charging stations with a solar array canopies over them so that it powers itself and it doesn't act as an energy drain on the city.
Right. Yep. I think that's a great idea.
Especially if the rail's going in, that would be a great upgrade improvement and a selling point for people to park there to take the train into Boston for work or the like. One other spot that I've looked at that I think would be beneficial would be the parking lot at the library, where people are going to go to the library, spend a couple hours reading or looking for books or job searching on the internet, and they can plug their car in while they're getting little extra power.
Yep.
Now, one of the issues with being an alderman, like being a state legislator, is there's always issues. Where in the city would you say are the biggest issues that should be addressed when it comes to infrastructure or economy? What do you think where's the focus needs to be on capital improvement projects?
Sure. Well, I think it's very important that we maintain the progress we've made on our paving program. When I was last on the board in 2017, we passed a bond resolution. I think it authorized up to $20 million, but so far and then also reallocating some of the Broad Street Parkway bond to get the paving back up to a condition that we can all agree is much in need of repair. So I think it's important that we maintain that schedule, that we get our streets paved. I think that's probably priority number one. The other thing is our sewer systems. You've seen a lot of in the past sinkholes or different issues. Like there's an issue up in Ward 3 right now, and actually that has to do with the water line coming through. So I think those types of projects are very important. There's stuff that we want to keep on top of. Some of our sewers are from the 1880s and they haven't been replaced. I think, they're way overdue. And I think, we need to do this as an investment in our city, is to kind of work on.
So you're talking about combating internal erosion in our infrastructure.
Correct. Yep.
Do you know any means that Nashua is using to try and detect it and get ahead of it before it actually becomes a sinkhole?
Mm-hmm. I don't, and I don't have the technical expertise behind that, but I know that they do know the areas that need to be fixed. The question is how do we fund those projects, and how do we prioritize them, particularly when you look at, okay, if we have a street that has a sewer that runs underneath it that needs to be repaired, but we also need to pave the street, how do we prioritize doing that? Well, you have to get one in line with the other, right? Because you don't want to pave a street and
just
then
to rip it up and repave it again.
Exactly. So it's a very complicated process, but I think we have a pretty good handle on it. And I think when you do see a couple of problems that happen, it's because, unfortunately, timing didn't allow us to get to that, before an issue hit. So I think it's imperative that we keep up with our maintenance on our city infrastructure.
All right. We got a couple of minutes left. What are your plans after the election? Are you gonna planning to, if you win or even if you lose, to run in the municipal election again?
Yes, I am certainly going to run again. The special election is to fill out the rest of Brian McCarthy's term, which ended the end of 2019. So I will, in order for me to continue on the board, I'll have to run again in the fall, and I intend to do so.
So it'll be one continuous campaign between here and November.
Essentially, yes. Yeah, it probably will be. I'm hoping I get a couple of months break, but yeah, I'll. Whether I win or lose, I'm going to run again in the fall, for sure.
Okay. Now, when it comes to campaigning, we all know that it's important to get out and meet the voters. Mm-hmm. What do you have coming up that the viewers should be aware of in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on this coming Thursday, we have a forum that's being held by the League of Women Voters, and it's going to be between myself and my opponent, and that's going to be at the Nashua Library. And I would encourage everyone, if you have a chance, to come to that. It's at 7 p.m. And then right before the election on the weekend, March 2nd, it's a Saturday, at 1 p.m., we're going to be having a town hall hosted by yourself. And I think that'll be a good opportunity for folks to come out and meet me as well. So those are the two big events. Beyond that, I will be going door to door every weekend, meeting voters. And of course, a voter can always contact me or call me My website's benclemens.org, and I look forward to talking to people and really getting as many people out to vote. I think is the most important thing, because as I go door to door, some people don't know that there's an election, and because they don't expect it this time of the year in Nashua. So it's important that we get that message out to go and vote.
And what's the date for the special election?
March 5th. It's Tuesday, March 5th. And if you're not going to be in town, you can vote absentee ballot, and you can go to the city clerk's website, and they have the application there.
Excellent. Now, as I mentioned, we're in the last couple of minutes. Do you have any messages for the voters that you'd like to give out right now or and such?
Well, I think the only message that I have is I bring a lot of experience to the Board of Aldermen. I have, I've done many accomplishments while I was on the board, including the creation of the Downtown Improvement Committee, which has funded downtown improvements and entertainment events, as well as beautification things, to the tune of, on average, almost $100,000 per year, and we never raised taxes to do that. What we did was we made it a little bit more money to park closer to Main Street, but a lot less money to park away from Main Street. So I think we can see the benefits of that come to fruition by how downtown has been a flourishing place ever since, starting in really 2012 and moving forward to today. We see a lot of new businesses and a lot of activity down there. And I think that's because we're getting more people to come and visit downtown through that program. So it's things like that that I bring to the table. I definitely want to work with small businesses, work with families to make sure that our tax rate stays stable. There's nothing more important than to make sure we have a stable tax base and to make sure that taxes don't go out of control. I think one of the ways we do that is by getting new businesses to come into town and invest in the city. What that does is it puts more of the tax burden on the commercial side and lessens it on the residential side, and we can balance our ledger better that way. That's how Nashua's continued to be successful. That's how we've continued to keep our taxes low relative to other cities our size and maintain the quality services that we have. So I think that's what I plan to focus on as an alderman at large. I plan on working to those goals with the Economic Development Director and the Mayor, as well as our state legislature. And I'm truly looking forward to this opportunity because I think Nashua has a bright future ahead of it, and I would love to be a part of that.
Excellent. Well, I do want to thank everybody for watching today. If you are watching us live on YouTube, don't forget to place a comment in the chat. We have just about a minute or so here. If you have a question, please post it in the chat. I can get it on quickly if you get it in there. If you like what you see, don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel. And we will be coming back next month. We're looking at having some great guests. And I do want to thank everybody for viewing, and have a wonderful day. And don't forget to vote on March 5th.